The following is a presentation of Stewed Productions.
Hey everyone, it's a brand new episode of InterBrews ready for you, but before we get into the meat, the juicy parts, the succulent audio that is InterBrews, I want to let you know that if you wish to help support this podcast because you love Texas craft beer and the people in it and you like to hear more about them through this podcast, interbrews.com/Patreon or patreon.com/interbrews. That is one way. For as little as $1 an episode, you can help support. That's an ongoing thing, and there's exclusive episodes there for supporters. If you want to do a one-time donation, we now have a PayPal button there on the website at interbrews.com, there on the right or underneath the posts, or you can just go to interbrews.com/PayPal and make a one-time donation. Or you can use our Amazon affiliate link. That is interbrews.com/Amazon. Or if you can't remember all those different places to go, just go to interbrews.com/support, and it will give you all three options. And you can help keep this thing afloat. We're trying to get video added and do some live streaming and that sort of thing. And the goal to get there, $600 is where we stand for now because of all the support before. We are just a mere $600 away. So if you'd like to look at my face and the faces of the great people in the Texas craft beer industry, then we'll get there and we'll add all that and it'll be fantastic. So enjoy this episode with Craig Rowan from Alstadt Brewing Company in Fredericksburg. And thank you for the support. And if you know what, if you can't support, tell a friend. I really appreciate everybody that listens. And the support is awesome. But most of all, thank you for enjoying the show. All right, on to it now.
This is InterBrews.
Hey everybody, welcome to InterBrews. Josh here. One of the bonuses of being home and being confined to using Skype and those types of things to do interviews is I get to reach out further than just the area around me. And today, super delighted. I'm going to use the word delighted. It's a sunny, beautiful day outside, and the word delightful is just dancing on my brain today. So Craig Rowan, head brewer from Alstadt Brewing in Fredericksburg. How are you, sir?
I'm delightful. How are you?
The same. Thanks for making the time to be on InterBrews today.
Well, I have a little more time than I normally do, so it worked out.
It's going around. Well, I will say this on the list of places in Texas that I have not been, as far as I'll say all places. Alstadt Brewing in Fredericksburg it may be at the very top. It may be at the very top. I don't know. I'm sure there's a lot of places in Texas worth seeing, but when it comes to my love for beer and delicious beer and all those types of things, your brewery is at the top of the list. So we were planning on making a trip to Fredericksburg for the 4th of July. We'll see how that works out, but the next best thing is getting to talk to you over the internet. So
yeah, I mean, I can almost paint as pretty a picture as Alstadt is in person, I guess. But yeah, I'm not going to lie. I kind of miss having people walk in and, talk about how beautiful it is and how nice and everything. Stuff that you kind of hear over and over and over again. You sort of, lose appreciation for people, and then you don't have it anymore, and you kind of miss it,
Yeah. Well, paint the picture real quick. So most people who listen to this podcast know Fredericksburg and kind of know, when you say Fredericksburg, all the things that brings to mind. But then you get, like, especially if you start looking at pictures of your brewery on your Facebook page and just on the different interviews and things like that, different places online. It's this beautiful, beautiful brewery and your brewing equipment and just the whole scene. Just help paint the picture. How big of the property size, the brewery itself, the brew house, all that. What are your stats?
Oh, geez. So as far as property size, not to get too technical, but it's big. That's pretty much as accurate as I can give you. So the building itself is it's sort of modeled after old German castles. And you walk in to the host stand, and the tap room is behind the host stand to come grab a beer. The beer garden is directly attached to that. You can choose to have dine in or sit in the indoor beer hall, where on weekends we'll have bands playing, things like that. And when the place is full of people, it is really an atmosphere like I've just never seen before. It is really, really cool. The brewery itself, which is attached, and under normal circumstances, you can come take a tour. It's a 30 hectoliter brew house. We use hectoliters because we're German. And so if you think about it, it's about a 27 barrel brew house. Okay. You can get 30 barrels out of it, but we do everything in hectoliters and Celsius, which took a lot of time for me to acclimate to, but I did it. And yeah, we have 120 hectoliter fermenters, so roughly about 100 barrels in each of those. It's all I'm blanking on the name. It's been a while since I've talked to him. Rolec. They're going to be mad at me for that. So it's all Rolec, German Rolec equipment. It's copper plated, so it's really nice and pretty. And it's not the size of a larger brewery per se, but it operates very similarly. So we get the recipe, we put it in the program, and essentially we're watching to make sure that everything goes properly. And that's basically in the name of consistency. So if you're opening up a lager today or a lager 6 months from now, it's going to be the exact same beer.
Yeah. Oh, and what
we see a lot of times.
Yeah. And
I'm sorry?
Oh, I was just going to say, and speaking of that lager, it's you won the gold medal at GABF for the in the Hellas style, right? And
yes, the German Hellas. That's right. If you can picture me as high a pitch as Mariah Carey could get, that's kind of was my reaction when it happened. So,
that beer, it is one of those beers where you take a drink, whether it's you pour it in a glass and really admire it and take the time and do it properly, or you just open the bottle. I like the fact that it's in bottles too. I mean, I know you guys will talk about the cans and stuff as well, but you just open that bottle and take a drink, and it's just it's one of those things that reminds you like without even using words how awesome beer is. It just hits. It just hits every the best parts of it. Just super flavorful, refreshing, makes you want to have another, and you can. It's what is like 4. It's 4.7.
4.8.
4.8. Okay, yeah, it's it's so just satisfying, like on every level.
So this really touches my heart. It is by far that is my go-to beer that we do, especially for distribution. And the main thing I think I like so much about it is how universal it is. I mean, it can touch any beer drinker's palate, and I think that they'll at least be okay with it. So if you give somebody who's, typically a Bud Light drinker, a stout or a double IPA or something, they'll probably say something insulting and tell you how disgusting it is. But if you give them like a lager, they'll drink it. Whereas, most hardcore craft beer drinkers, or Europeans even, will come and try the lager, and they like it too. So I like how it bridges that gap a lot. But I'm insanely proud of it. But the opinion I think I seek most is what an actual German thinks.
Yeah.
And we've had a few of those come in, and they've been pretty positive for such an angry people. They seem really happy when they're drinking the beer.
Did you see the documentary about the Stone Brewery in Belgium, or not? I mean in Berlin. There's a documentary with Greg Cook. Is it Cook or Cock? How does he pronounce his last name? It's
I call them cooked.
Okay.
Yeah,
I think that's right. But they tried to open up the brew house there in Berlin, and
Right.
it was this huge, huge thing. And they went in, just typical Stone style with their aggressively hopped, you talk about angry, like his whole thing was he used to make angry beers back back in the day, like beer wars and that sort of thing. But it just didn't click. It was just a completely different animal. And, the Germans, they definitely do have, like, when they drink a beer, they're like, this is not what beer's supposed to taste like.
Right. And it's funny. I've been in the business for, golly, almost 13 years now. And I've dealt with, delt's kind of a strong word, worked with Germans through most of it. And usually they'll try the American versions of German style, and American styles typically, we put our own spin on it, right? Mm-hmm. So it's going to taste different to a German no matter what. But sometimes Germans will come, especially the Rolex crew, when they come here, they want to drink the IPAs and the other stuff that Americans have kind of made their own, because they sort of have this win in Rome attitude. Mm-hmm. So you'll either have the attitude of, well, I'll drink your German beer, but I'm not going to like it. Or I'll drink your American beer while I'm here and be like, yeah, this is okay, but it's not German beer.
Yeah.
But sometimes they're pretty cool about it. But Fredericksburg still has a German speaking population. Central Texas, as you know, has a large military community. Mm-hmm. A lot of the military community has been stationed in Germany. So they know what good German beer tastes like. And that's pretty much our goal, is to have the actual German style that you would get in Dusseldorf or Cologne or Munich without the American evolution on it.
Yeah.
And the results have been pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing, because there is a with the Germans, just from watching that documentary, and it was shot and done by a guy, that he was American, but he's lived in Germany for a while, and he was very wary of what Stone was trying to do. There's something to be said about tradition, and in America especially, and over the last 10, 15, 20 years of the craft beer, American craft beer revolution, tradition, there's been some things, a nod to some traditions, but the mainstay of craft beer has been, well, why wouldn't we try something completely crazy and outside of the box? We don't have boxes. There's not even boxes, right?
Right.
But there's something to be said about tradition and style, like with guidelines and hitting those styles spot on, and it just creates something magical in and of itself. And
I agree. So, it's kind of a double-edged sword. If you're talking about the Reinheitsgebot, that basically created modern beer and what ingredients constitute beer. Mm-hmm. And, we wouldn't be where we were in the industry without it. Now, having said that, basically, if you only limit beer to 4 ingredients, well, you kind of handcuffed yourself a little bit, and then you can't really evolve from that. So, I basically, Stone putting a brewery in Germany, that is, you're asking somebody to make a huge leap when they really need a bridge to get there.
Yeah.
So it's not surprising how that turned out, but yeah, tradition's cool, and we try to be traditional here. But to be honest with you, sometimes I'm an American. I'm not a German, so that gets boring. So that's why it's fun to have the tap room to where we can do, different things and kind of bend the rules a little bit. But for the most part, we want an American to walk into the supermarket, pick up our beer. Well, mainly a Texan. We're only in Texas. Texan to walk into the supermarket, pick up a beer, and then that is the type of beer you would get in Germany. Now, some more of the fun stuff is in the tap room for sure.
Yeah. Okay. So looking at your website, I see that you're in most of the major markets here in Texas. Any plans to span outside of Texas? Is that obviously we are in whatever this is. Sam from brought it up the other day. He was saying that we need a name for whatever this is because everybody's calling it, the times we're in or the whatever this is. There's just kind of we all know what we're talking about, but there's not like an official name, So it's like we need an official name, but whenever we get past this, whatever this is, whatever, insert official name here, post credits or whatever.
Right.
What was the trajectory when things were normal, and what are the talks as far as going outside of Texas, and then what are the talks back to new normal?
There were no real talks about getting out of Texas in the next 5 years. So based on the 5-year plan, we're going to stay in the state and just grow there. And, Texas is a big state, so it was totally sustainable. But everything sort of got changed for us. So as far as long-term plans now, nobody's selling kegs, so maybe we need to go out of the state just to, get more business. I honestly don't know. There were to answer the part of your question I can answer, there were no plans to leave the state, no immediate plans. But now you just don't know. If I don't know. I honestly don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not opposed to it, but we'll kind of just have to see how it shakes out. But the only thing I know for sure is, keg sales they're not going to be what they were. This is going to have long lasting effects. Mm-hmm. Maybe for another 5 years in and of itself before, because you're talking about this stopped beer bars dead in its tracks. Mm-hmm. So you're going to have to rebuild the industry first, then rebuild relationships with on premise, and it's going to take a while. So breweries everywhere might be expanding just their packaging just out of necessity.
Yeah.
So,
it's an interesting thing, the psychological effect this will have on consumers. I think the longer it goes, I can speak for myself that the longer it goes, and it's not just a day to day, like each day is one more day that we'll have to on the backside try to heal or whatever, try to get used to what the new normal is. It's like each day is like another month or something of therapy. You're gonna have to, like, beer therapy, public beer drinking therapy. It's even when I'm watching, and I've said it before on this podcast, even since, in these last few episodes, when I see sporting events, replays of sporting events where there's just this huge number of people, it's a little like, oh, you can't do that. It's like there is a twinge of anxiety to it. I know exactly what you mean. And then if you Netflix watching is through the roof now, but you'll see people. I'll put The Office on just for comfort TV. Uh-huh. And you'll just see people in this room not wearing masks, shaking hands, doing weird, gross things with each other. And it's like, oh no, this is not safe. And it's I don't know, it's going to be weird. Even when things get back to quote unquote normal, it's psychologically, I don't know how it's going to be like, but I think eventually we'll phase out of it and go back to being, coughing in people's faces and stuff. I don't know. We'll see. 2 or 3 beers in, all those germs are taken care of, I think.
Well, that's what the germs want you to think.
Right. Well, however that works. But I don't know. I think maybe something like outdoor beer gardens will probably be the place where people are able to dip their toe back into the water.
So I think and again, I may be proved wrong within a week or so, but it seems likely some places will open, within the next couple of months, with social distancing encouraged. I mean, if we do it, we have an outdoor seating area, but you'll probably see a lot of places where, half the tables are kicked up. Maybe servers wearing face masks and stuff. We'll see, but it's going to be weird.
Yeah.
It's just going to be weird.
Yeah, because all that's going to be a reminder. Like if a server comes up to you wearing a mask, it's like all of a sudden, oh yeah, reality.
Maybe, but you never know. Maybe people will just be so happy to be out of their house and have like a sense of normal. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I mean, you just don't know how people are going to react. Some people think people are going to flock to open establishments. Some people I've talked to said, well, no, people are going to kind of be a little too worried to do that just yet. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I've never lived through a pandemic like this, so I don't exactly have anything to base on. This is all new territory.
Yeah, it's well, we could sit here and probably speculate about the future probably for another hour, and maybe we will. Maybe we'll get back around to it. But one thing, I want to look back into the past a little bit, something we know.
Sure.
Your brewing background. How did you get to be the head brewer at Alstadt? How did all that happen?
Well, it's long story short, it all happened because I was a young 20-year-old with no sense of direction or responsibility. But so basically, I'm from New Orleans originally, and in my early 20s, I was out of school. I had a job I hated so much that I just quit without a fallback. Mm-hmm. And I walked into the warehouse of the Abita Brewing company in 2008, and just to get like a temporary job in their warehouse before I figured out what I wanted to do. Well, I kind of started to, fall in love with the beer they were making. And then, you kind of start to try other different types of beers, fell in love with the process, moved up from the warehouse to the packaging line. And then back then, if there was an open position in a brew house, they would hire somebody without a lot of experience because the market was just blowing up in craft beer at the time. So you needed more help than people were coming out of brewing school could give, right? Mm-hmm. And the brewmaster for Abita basically knew I didn't miss any work and I came in on time. So he was like, yeah, I'd love to hire you. So then I went into the cellar, then the brew house. So my first time ever brewing was on a 100-barrel system.
Oh, wow.
So no homebrew experience. And by the time my last 2 years there, I was doing all the pilot recipes on a 10-gallon Sabco system. Mm-hmm. So when I was ready to move on from there, the current brewmaster for Alstadt, brought me on, and I came on to build the cellar. And then when that brewmaster left in December of 2018, I was promoted. Kept the head brewer title, but yeah. So now I have now I'm in charge of the entire brewery. That's pretty much the short story.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot in that story, and it speaks to one, the importance of showing up every day and on time. Like
when they say, showing up is almost 100% of it. Yeah. Just show up. That's big, and show up on time. Like people notice that. I mean, you don't realize how much authority figures notice that until you are in a position of authority. It means a lot because I have about 10 people working for me now, and it's weird the stuff you notice and the stuff that makes an impact on you.
Yeah.
So, but that's the biggest one for sure.
Yeah. So just showing up on time every day, and then, just putting in the time. I mean, that's a big one. And then just keeping your eyes open and your ears open. And, a lot of time that'll take you a long way.
It will. And it's, you have to put a lot of work in, and sometimes it seems it seems futile, like you're banging your head against the wall. But even every time you hit a roadblock, you learn a lot of stuff along the way. Every time you fail, you learn a ton of stuff. Every time you fail, you just have to have the right attitude about it. And, know what you don't know, and, keep at it. I mean, if you're doing something you want to do, or if you have goals in mind, you have to keep at it. I mean, the only way you're not going to progress is by doing nothing. You just have to keep going, and it pays off eventually. And it's a very, very rewarding field that I'm in. So yeah, it's cool. But like I said, I fell into this accidentally, and it wound up being a pretty awesome career. So I'm a very, very lucky person. All
right. So, when you think back to your days in Abita, just to look behind the car, I'm never good at just pausing and not you're just playing it off like it didn't happen. It totally happened. We switched sources. So sorry. I was gonna try to keep it all under wrap, but there's no point in it. Whatever.
It makes you more human.
Yeah.
When things happen, people appreciate that.
Okay. Good. Good. Looking back on your time at Abita. What were some of your favorite beers you brewed there? The thing I remember most about Abita, I grew up watching when the Food Network first came out on cable, and Emeril Lagasse was on there all the time. It was it was basically the Emeril Lagasse channel for a while, and he would use Abita beer in some of his recipes, and I just remember seeing Turbo Dog and thinking it was,
Turbo Dog is probably the I'd say, pound for pound, the best beer Abita has ever done. I don't know. So there's so many styles that were done during my time there. And let's see, I was there from 2008 to early 2017. Mm-hmm. And you're talking about the very top of the craft beer boom. And then the rest is the biggest competition of craft beer and the country has ever seen. Mm-hmm. So everybody's doing all these different styles just to try to stay ahead of the game or with the game. So a lot of stuff came out of there. I think one of my favorites was an oyster stout, which was fantastic. The salty brine that was mixed in with, a nice roasty and smooth stout worked really well. Some of the things I liked that didn't quite catch on to a larger audience but had a good cult following, there was a beer called Louisiana Spice, which was just a regular golden ale, but it used a lot of the same spices you would use in a crawfish boil. And that was fantastic. You could only really have one of them, though. But I mean, nationwide, most people just know about Purple Haze, and Amber was a big one. Mm-hmm. But I'm trying to think. I really kind of just liked a lot of the hoppier stuff. And then when the Session IPA craze hit, that was pretty much my go-to, was their Big Easy IPA.
Yeah.
I drank plenty of those. So probably the Big Easy IPA was my go-to.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just remember watching those shows with Emeril and him talking about Turbo Dog. And you go back and I wanted to show my daughter some of those shows because my youngest, she's really into cooking and really pastry chef type stuff, all those cooking competitions with kids. Got her fired up about all that stuff, but she turns out she can cook pretty pretty well. So win for all of us, I guess. But it's I wanted to show him, like, these are the shows I used to watch, and it's just him, one dude in a kitchen telling you how to cook a recipe. And it's funny when you go back and listen to like them describing a beer. It was like, this one, it's a dark beer, and it's dark, and just put it in there. It's like, it's very surreal, because growing up, you only really thought of beer as, this golden drink. And then you saw like a dark beer, like a Guinness or something, and your mind thinks it's some exotic beer from Ireland. And, but now it just runs the gambit. Like I can pour a rainbow of colors out of the taps downstairs. And, like that's just almost unheard of in America 10 years ago. And now you have like 7,000 breweries in the country who can pretty much brew any style that's ever existed in the world. Right, and a bunch that were never. Yes, exactly. And styles are being created. So the descriptions, I'll be 100% honest with you, I have to write beer descriptions. It is the hardest thing I can do or for me to do, because I'm not the most poetic guy. It comes and goes, but you almost have to. It's hard for me to describe the difference between like a brown ale or an alt beer to people without doing a long form interview about it. It's really hard to write in tasting notes and things like that. But the beers are so different, and so I kind of envy being able just to say the beer was dark and that was it. When you think about that, is a challenge. Like how do you verbally describe the difference between an alt beer and a brown ale, without going into yeast character or malt, It's really hard, and then I'll find myself rambling. You may have figured this out already. I ramble sometimes, but that's what I'll do. I'll get into how it's fermented, why you're getting the different subtle tastes you're getting. Then I'll break into the history of everything. And, some people are really into that. Other people just want to know what makes an alt beer. And you kind of can't. Yeah. Sometimes I can't just be brief about it. It's almost like you would need an accompanying loaf of bread for each one. Be like, this is this one and that's this one. Sort of. Yeah, kind of. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah. But I've gotten better at it as I've gotten older, because it's fun. It's a good challenge to have. Yeah, it's one of the fun ones, right? It's like, it is difficult, but heck, if you're gonna rack your brain on beer. Right. But it is funny when sales guys, they want me to write descriptions for them, and they don't. It takes me a while to get it to them, but they just expect it like immediately. Like, well, you know what it is. Give me like the tasting notes and stuff like that. And I'm like, okay. And it's just not as easy, maybe for me as it normally is. And I don't want to cheat and like go read on what another author says the tasting notes should be. I kind of do, because you brew the beer to style, right? Uh-huh. So you know what they are, but what some people call roasty, I might call toasty, mm-hmm. And then people go, "Oh no, it's not toasty. They're totally different things." And I'm like, so it's very important to get the verbiage right and or the vocabulary right, and so I don't know. It's annoyingly difficult. Yeah, so you see it on a menu, just have a little sip for the person who wrote that description. Yeah, exactly. And be like, okay, all right, they were trying. This was pre-coffee or something. Maybe. Yeah, exactly. or they were spot on today. Also, you can't figure out, the drinker, the person trying the beer, what have they been doing that day? What's their stress level? What's, maybe they've been, maybe they just brushed their teeth, or maybe, they haven't brushed their teeth in 3 days, or whatever. They smoked a cigar. Who knows?
I think the main thing is, which I tend to forget a lot of brewers do. You have to put yourself in the position of the drinker, and they're there to learn. Most of them are, because most people are not craft beer drinkers, especially when they come into a brewery. They're trying to learn and, open their palate up a little bit. So you can't drop words like phenolic on them a little bit. You can tell them it has, banana or clove flavors and things like that. Sort of, it's got to be introductory.
Yeah.
Don't speak to them on the level you're at. Speak to them on their level, and then they'll come to your level eventually, and it'll be great.
Yeah, there needs to be more. I think we definitely have the technical brewing terms and tasting terms down. There's even tasting charts and flavor charts and things like that. But I think there needs to be more research done into like a song or interpretive dance that directly tells what the beer is like. And it's like so each salesperson, that's what you ought to tell a salesperson. That would be the ultimate like April Fools for the whole month of April. You're like, this is brewed in such a special traditional way. You have to do this, this dance.
I have a feeling with how cooped up our salespeople are right now. Uh-huh. By the time they get out of their houses, it'd be kind of insane enough to just do that on their own.
Yeah, it's like you must look the bar owner or the distributor right in the face. Don't smile at all. Serious as can be, and do this dance, and then proceed to. And that's the beer.
Oh, that might work really well in Austin, actually.
Maybe there may be something to it, or you have to take in your ukulele and sing a song that tells the story. Yeah. These hops, they can only be the aromas only come out through song, and I don't know. You talked about your tap room and how you have other stuff on tap other than just so packaging currently as we sit in reality. You've got the 4 in cans, right?
Yep, they're all in cans. The lager, which is the Munich Hell, I've been talking about. The Kolsch.
That Kolsch is great too.
Yeah, the Kolsch also took a gold at the GABF, and at the U.S. Open too. If I'm acting like I don't remember, I totally remember. The medals are sitting at my desk.
They're actually around your neck right now.
No, I won't do that. I was given a tour one time, and one of the employees threw the medals around my neck, and I did not enjoy that. I like looking at them. I don't like being flamboyant about it, I guess. I don't know. But so yeah, the lager, the Kolsch, the amber, which is our alt beer, and then our newest release is the Hef, which is a Hefeweizen, obviously, and those are all in cans. Everything but the Hefeweizen is also in bottles, and then seasonally we do an Oktoberfest in bottles, and those should hit the stores in late July.
Okay. One thing I really appreciate your labeling. One, it looks just traditional German style, clean. You know your beers when you see it, but you have the color on each one. So if my wife's at the grocery store and she doesn't have time for me, because I'll admit that when she's there and she's like, "What beer do you want?" I'm like, "All right, visually tell me what they have," and I have this mental. I know what the aisle looks like because I'm there all the. I spend.
Yep.
I spend
as
much.
Thing with my wife.
Yeah, I spend as much time on that beer aisle as probably as David, the guy that runs our HEB's beer section. I probably spend maybe more time because he's got wine and stuff. I just sit there and think about it and contemplate. What am I feeling today? And so I'll have her go to the end cap. Now turn around 4 paces and then look up. It's like, what do they got there? What's there? What's on that spot? But the thing I appreciate about your labels is like, all right, Alstadt, give me the blue one, or get me the red one, or give me the green one. It's like, that makes it, the mission is very straightforward.
I am pleasantly surprised with how well that works. Because there's a lot of keep it simple stupid to it.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, I mean, it's very like people will still come into the tap room or they'll call the brewery asking, where can I get the red or where can I get the green? I don't see the green anywhere. People call asking about the green a lot. The green is the amber. That's our one beer where people won't buy it unless they've been given a sample of it and they love it. But yeah, it's worked out really well. And it's just kind of surprising that people took to it that way, but that's I hear that so often. Like people just talk red label, blue label, purple label.
Well, it harkens back to like Chimay or something like that, where, to really explain what a double or double or a triple or however you want to pronounce it. It's like to,
Yeah, I guess it would. Yeah, I guess, or maybe people think about it as like Johnny Walker or something.
Yeah.
But the price range is the same for all our labels, and it's all top notch. So.
Yeah, no, I'm glad it's in cans though.
Me too.
I haven't ventured out to the grocery store since this whole thing. I've been what does that say about me? We get a lot of our stuff like, you swing through and pick it up. But I know that our HEB here, we have a fantastic HEB. I love HEBs. HEB's they're not a sponsor of this show, but I'm a sponsor of HEB. I spend a lot of my money there.
HEB was one of my favorite things when I moved to Texas. I fell in love immediately. So.
Yeah, it's uniquely Texan, and then it also, because I didn't grow up in Texas. Yeah, I grew up in Arkansas, so we both have that common. Like, grew up, and you said you moved? Did you move? How old were you when you moved to Texas?
How old am I now? Geez, I don't know. I forget. 35 now. So I don't know. I was like 30. I might have just been 33 or 32.
Okay.
I can't remember. I wasn't expecting to do math today.
No, it's fine. I have trouble figuring out what day of the week it is now, and then it's lost on me. But yeah,
so early 30s. Let's say that.
Okay, good enough. Long enough to have you had life kind of set in. Like I moved to Texas when I was 21. I just turned 21, and it had all just life before that. You just see I had that was it. That was all the experience you knew, and then you moved here, and so there's definitely those two slices of life. I'm not quite to the same amount of time in Texas as I was in Arkansas, but I'm getting close. But HEB, yeah, it was one of those things it's like, this is different than any grocery store I've ever been to. Like, I visited when my wife now, girlfriend at the time, was living here. We went to an HEB. It's like, I don't see what the big deal is. And then you get one of those tortillas that they made in house, and then you're like, all right, I get it. But just that company, man, the fact that they've been working so hard through all this pandemic stuff, and they've had a pandemic team since 2005. Like
it's almost like they should just be in charge of everything, huh?
Yeah. They should be up there doing the press conferences each day. How where are we on milk and eggs? They got some? Okay, cool. What about brisket?
Yeah, I mean they've been awesome. I just on a myriad of levels, they're fantastic.
Yeah, and and then they have y'all's beer. So I got to go check and see if they've got the cans in yet, because it's been the bottles. I love the bottles too, though.
So the bottles are and there's something about drinking, like if I'm sitting down watching football. You remember football?
I vaguely, right? Is that the one with the
sports? Yeah.
Which one is it?
It's
it's the one with the helmets, right?
Yes, there you go.
But not with with the mask, or no the mask, the face mask. Is that?
Everybody wears masks now, so
okay, weird. We all play football.
But yeah, there's something about like sitting there and just drinking beer out of a bottle. Like drinking out of a bottle is its own experience. I don't know, I can't explain it, but it's funny having the debates with people when on tours when we started canning, because they're like, there's a certain generation who views bottles as better. Mm-hmm. And then the younger generation will view cans as better, but mostly because cans are for a more active lifestyle. You can bring them everywhere.
Yeah.
But I will tell people all the time that because I'll take a show of hands on all my tours. I'll ask who thinks bottles are better, or who thinks cans are better, and depending on the age range, usually bottles wins. And I'll pretty much have to tell them, if I gave you a blind taste test with a draft beer, a bottled beer, or a canned beer, you'd probably choose the bottled beer as the one that's not up to the other two. And they sort of blows their minds when I say, no, bottled beer is actually not 100% on the quality level, but there's just something about a bottled beer. I mean, I love drinking beer out of a bottle.
Yeah, especially like a bucket of ice with the beers in it at the table.
Yeah. There's a lot of psychology to it, and psychology plays a huge part in how much you enjoy a beer. So, yeah, I never want to stop bottling it because I love drinking that lager out of a bottle.
Okay, I have to ask you this question. I feel like you may be one of the top minds on the entire planet to answer this question. Best style of beer for crawfish?
Ooh, well, man, I mean, the lager would be pretty good with crawfish, yeah. But honestly, any sort of German style, German like a golden German style, like a Pilsner or a lager, even a Kolsch, because they're so easy drinking. The ABV is low, but those flavors, they cut through. The bitterness and the carbonation cuts through the spice and some of the fat in there, to where you can still taste the beer with all that spice, but it brings out more flavors in the crawfish. So they work hand in hand really, really well. I cannot drink something hoppy with spicy food. It maybe like a spicy sausage or something, but anything that takes the flavor away from the other doesn't do it for me. But something that can bring out the flavors of, hand in hand, So I would say Alstadt Lager is the best to go with crawfish.
Yeah.
On the planet. And you said it yourself, I'm the top mine. So
yeah. No, okay. There's a full endorsement. We'll print up that t-shirt.
But and I will say this, when Abita started in the late 80s, a lot of their mindset, they started with German beers, but their mindset was to match food with the cuisine, excuse me. And that's what a lot of that is. So even just a regular Vienna lager, a golden blonde ale, something like that, it's got to be sessionable, have flavor, good carbonation, and that's kind of the beer I started brewing was perfect for crawfish. So, and a lot of that was all German origin. So German beers pair beautifully with crawfish, beautifully.
Yeah, I don't think they have any crawfish over in Germany.
No, they don't. So they should, come down to Louisiana and try some good crawfish.
Yeah, it's and maybe here's another thing. Maybe the bucket of beers with a little ice and water in there, maybe that's the best serving vessel for crawfish, because you can dip your hand in there, little rinse, but it's only like 6 beers or so in a bucket, depending on your size of your bucket.
No, don't. Yeah, what are you worried about getting your hands dirty for? That's not how you eat crawfish.
I'm just saying, if you need a quick dunk, I don't know. You put your hands, you break open that crawfish, you've already accepted your hand is going to be gross until you wash them. Yeah.
So you got to go. You got to go for it.
I hope crawfish spice kills off virus, because that would be an amazing way to keep people from touching their face. You can't touch your eyes for sure, or if you do, it'll right.
Well, I'll tell you this: if you were to basically eat crawfish and not wash your hands, that would really, really dissuade you from touching your face. So you might lick your fingers a little bit.
Yeah,
so I don't know. It's a real give and take.
Yeah, that's the downside.
But I've rubbed my eyes after eating crawfish before, and that was painful, very painful.
Yeah, it's a life lesson.
Yeah, it's
sure.
a life lesson I've had to learn at least 5 or 6 times.
Yeah, the problem is you drink enough beer and it's like, oh, you forget a little bit, and then it's like, oh yeah. I don't know. Crawfish is pretty awesome though. Maybe crawfish season will be, because crawfish season is what, March, late March, early. I don't know. When does crawfish? February? I guess it's February, right?
Yeah. So you get little guys in February, and then it should be hopping now, but then it can go into June, and then it sort of tails off.
Yeah. Pun intended.
Yeah. Yeah, but typically April and May are when the best boils are.
Okay, so question about crawfish. So the ones that survive, the crawfish that survive, do they just, like, once it gets hot, their shells get pretty tough, right? And from what I understand, it's been a while since I've researched crawfish, but I guess they just kind of like hang out until the next year, and they're there for the next. What's the lifespan of a crawfish? Not being eaten.
So I will tell you everything I know about crawfish. And that is pretty much that I enjoy eating them.
Uh-huh.
Outside of that, I have no idea why they show up or why they go away. Because I don't care. I just want to eat them.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm actually the wrong person to ask about that.
I wonder if they go through a migration or something.
I have no idea. I don't question the science. I just accept it and I eat it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've never even given that a second thought.
Well, it makes me think like we're not able to get out there and eat as much crawfish as we normally, like, to-go beer sales have been way up. Packaged beer sales are up, but crawfish, nobody's looked at the crawfish industry. I mean, I guess they're still like packaging and selling frozen crawfish and things like that. But the ones, how will this impact next season? Will we have these monster crawfish, or will we have these crawfish that didn't have to fight to survive, and so they're kind of lazy, and maybe you can taste it in the. I don't know. So many questions open up now.
Well, I know it's still doing very well in Louisiana. Okay. You can still go and pick it up. They're still getting boiled, and they're still being eaten. They're just being. It's usually such a social thing to go to a crawfish boil, but now they're just kind of being enjoyed at home.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's still there, but I have a feeling next year it'll be better. So.
Yeah, I think next year everything's going to be better. Everything's going to be a little sweeter.
Everything will taste a little sweeter. Yes, it will.
Yeah,
I agree.
Unless it's a super dry beer, but still, you know what I mean.
Even.
What are the biggest differences between like the approach, whether it's to beer or just life in general, from Louisiana to here in Texas? Now that you've had time, a significant amount of time in both as an adult, so what are the biggest differences?
So it's really weird because culturally it's very different. So I'm from Southeast Louisiana, so I mean it's like Mardi Gras to me is like I'll avoid New Orleans during Mardi Gras where a lot of people will flock in, right? So all that's normal to me. Good crawfish is normal to me. Like Texas has decent crawfish. You don't have great crawfish, and I get a lot of flack for saying that, but I mean it's kind of true. But so basically, the biggest adjustment moving to Texas, especially Central Texas, is the lack of seafood or easily accessible seafood. Because I love, love, love seafood. My wife, however, hates seafood, and loves barbecue.
Okay.
So she's happy.
Yeah.
Neither of us really care for modern day country music, though. So I don't know.
You mean like Nashville country or Texas country? There's a.
I guess Nashville country. Not a big fan of. but I like old Texas country for sure.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's just culturally, it's just so different. But I mean, I'm comfortable here. I love living here. It's beautiful. I mean, I live in the middle. I live in Bernie, which is just outside San Antonio.
Yeah.
Drive through the hill country to get to work, and you're sandwiched in between San Antonio and Austin, two world-class cities that you would think were on opposite ends of the globe, but they're only an hour apart. And then in the middle is just like beautiful rolling hills. I mean, it's just an insanely great place to live. The people are awesome. There's a good sense of community. And it's just really cool. As far as I can tell, the state government works a lot better than Louisiana's. So
Yeah.
I like not paying state income tax. That's kind of cool. My first paycheck I got here, I said it was too high because there was nothing taken out of it. But so I don't know. It's weird. I still don't cheer for the sports teams here like that. But I like everything else about Texas. But I mean, I'm still a diehard Saints fan for the rest of my life.
As you should be.
Yeah.
I think people would look at you funny if they knew your story and then saw you cheering for the Cowboys. I would look at you funny cheering for the Cowboys anyway. But
so I don't want to lose. I don't want to lose business. But I am old enough to remember when I was a kid, the Cowboys were winning the Super Bowl every year, and I hated the Cowboys for it. Hated them. And now I kind of just feel sorry for them. So it is what it is.
Yeah. Man, I tell you what, the Saints. That's I don't know. My brother-in-law went to high school with Drew Brees, and I don't know, just tons of respect for him and that organization. So, good for New Orleans.
Yeah, it's very cool. Other than getting screwed out of a Super Bowl a couple of years ago, it's whatever.
Yeah, well, at least you've been to one. So that's as a Texans fan, I'm like, I wouldn't mind getting screwed out of a Super Bowl if we could make it there.
Oh, Texans fan, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, well, I chose it. That's the thing is like growing up in Arkansas, there are no teams, right? It's like baseball in Louisiana. It's like who do you cheer for? Who do you cheer for? Are you a baseball fan at all or?
I am very much a big fan of going to baseball games, and I was really, really on board with adopting the Astros.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of fell apart after the season ended because I'm like, oh, you got to be kidding me. So yeah, basically, it's really hard for me to root for the Astros after getting caught. I am 100% sure 90% of the teams do something along those lines. But what is funny is our QA manager is a huge Rangers fan, and he is all aboard the Astros need to lose their title. So it is fun for me to occasionally go up to him and say, oh my God, they just stripped the Astros their title. And he gets so excited. And it's never true.
Yeah.
It's never true.
Well, I mean, give it to the Rangers. They finally figured out that you need a roof to play baseball in Texas. So maybe they'll have a little more success without getting cooked. I mean, the fact.
So you say that, but I am of the belief that baseball is an outdoor game and it is meant to be played outdoors.
Unless it's 120 degrees.
I don't know.
Although it might contribute to the social. Nobody wants to sit in those stands, so maybe that's a good way.
Yeah, there you go. Now you could sort of build the stadium to face away from this. I don't know, but I get why they do it, but it's I don't know. Baseball should be played in an outdoor park in my mind, but it is what it is.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna complain.
Yeah, ideally, and it should be 80 degrees. And,
yes.
Texas. So, I don't know. I think people are trying to keep the whole Astros got caught cheating thing alive. I wonder how long we have to go until people just kind of Like they're just so glad to have baseball back that they don't think about it all that much?
It might be a while.
Yeah.
I don't know. And then, it's weird, but I don't like watching baseball on TV unless it's the playoffs. But so I wonder if, like the total lack of sports right now, I'll watch baseball on some practice field in Arizona just because that's what's there.
I think so. I'm ready for it. I'm not like I would watch stuff I would never watch. I might even watch like tennis or something just to.
I straight up watched WrestleMania just for new content, and I haven't watched wrestling since I was a kid.
See, I watched a lot of the replays, but I've watched some of the. I don't know, and I was really hoping the UFC was going to be able to pull off their fight. It was going to be Tony Ferguson and Khabib, but then they canceled. Then Khabib had to pull out because Russia, and then then California pulled the plug on it completely. But now they're talking about doing it on an island, which seems very Bond villain-esque. So I'm all for it.
Yeah. Yeah. So this rich bald guy runs his fighting ring on an island.
It's a Bruce Lee movie.
We can start calling him Mr. White.
Yes, Mr. Yes, he needs to get his hand chopped off and put like a blade or whatever, the fake hand with the gun in or whatever. Yeah. Just embrace it full on. But
I'm not a UFC fan, but I would still probably watch that for just fresh content, sport.
Yeah.
I miss it.
Well, swing it back around when we get some new content in life. Also, you can do weddings when weddings become a thing. People can do again, or parties and all that kind of stuff out at the brewery. Tell me more about when fully up and running. What's available at the brewery?
So I spoke to it a little bit earlier. There's a indoor beer hall. And that's where we can hold receptions for events, weddings. There's a private garden behind that where we typically do wedding ceremonies. The event is huge. You can hold a couple hundred people pretty comfortably. And, you have the full gambit of our beer, too. You're talking about, at any given time, 16 different styles of beer. So there's something for everybody. But yeah, it's good for private events too. I think we've had maybe 10 or so weddings so far since we've been open, and they all do really, really well. It's a great event space. It's just fantastic. So we've done a couple of other events, some charity events in there too. And then even if we're not doing events in there, it's open to the public. And my wife likes to call it the Harry Potter room because it looks like the dining hall at Hogwarts. Uh-huh. So it's just a beautiful space. But I will say this, though. It's really pretty when it's not crowded, but there is nothing like this place when you're here on a Saturday and it is just full of people. The atmosphere is just unbeatable.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. I can't wait to come experience it firsthand. My in-laws have been, my wife's parents have been there, and they're not even beer drinkers, but they went because they knew I'd talked about it and being excited. I was like, "Oh, you're going to Fredericksburg?" Well, and then 20 minutes later, they're like, "Okay, we'll go." And so they went, and then they sent pictures and even sent a video while they were there, and they never do that stuff. And they were saying, "This place is awesome." So that's to me, that's one, it builds a lot of excitement for me to finally get to go. But that's a pretty cool thing when people just appreciate it, even if they're not necessarily beer fans. And so that's pretty cool.
That's the main thing. Like, even if you don't like beer, while you're here, just try a flight, see what you like. I guarantee you there'll be something that'll do something for you. That pretty much somebody always finds something they like. The one exception is my wife, who says every beer tastes like armpits.
How many armpits has she tried? That's what I'm.
That's a very good question. I don't know. We haven't had that conversation yet, but I mean everything. And then if you try to start her off on a fruited beer, like give her a beer with like a strawberry beer or something, she'll say it tastes like strawberry armpits. Sours taste like sour armpits.
Wow.
But but so she's the only one. I've given up trying to convert her. So
when she tries your armpit, have you did you take a beer shower coming from work or what? I don't.
She's never touched my armpits in that sort of way, so I don't know what she's talking about.
Okay.
She's got a very active imagination, I guess. I guess.
I don't know. Now I'm curious about what armpits taste like. If they taste like beer, it might not be so bad.
Yeah, I don't think she knows what armpits taste like. Do not attempt to taste your armpit.
All
don't do that.
Okay. All right.
Or do it and report back to me. I don't know.
We'll do that. We'll do that next episode. We'll.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, okay. You know what? You said you had 16 different styles or 15 different styles there in the tap room. A lot of the time, most of the time. Currently, right? Nobody can come enjoy in the tap room right now. But what?
Unfortunately, yeah.
Are you still doing experimental brews? Are you able to get any of that like beer to go kind of stuff, or is it what are y'all doing as far as all that?
So we're not doing beer to go right now. I would encourage anybody who is not near us to get beer to go from your local brewery. They really, really need support right now. But we still are able to produce and supply stores and things like that. So we're not really relying on the to-go model. So basically, it is just our distribution beers right now. If we might lax that in the future, probably within the next couple of months, you'll see, like we talked about earlier, places opening up. So I think people will be able to come by and try those beers again real soon.
Okay. What are some of the ones you've had where, because lagers are delicious, and you and I, we know how awesome that is, a crispy, delicious beer on a warm day. But for those for the hopheads and those types whom we all know and love. But what are some of the ones you've had on tap that maybe speak to the the hoppier side of the listening audience?
So with our tap lineup, basically what we'll do is there's so many German styles, right? So we'll try to have those represented, like the Schwarz beer is a mainstay, Dunkel, a German Pilsner, things like that. We'll always have those around. And then as far as the IPAs go, when we started doing stuff like that, I told ownership, I said, we should really have an IPA on tap. They were kind of leery of breaking traditions there. And I said, well, don't worry about it. I'll use all German ingredients for the IPA. And that's actually a lot harder than I thought it would be, because basically, German hops are not made for IPAs. But we pulled it off. We have a really good German session IPA. So that was our first one. So that was the offering for people who come in and want something hoppy. And it does really well. And then we did a smash pale ale, single malt and single hop. And we used pale German malt and Mandarina Bavaria hops. So we have an IPA and a pale ale there. But really, on the tap room, when we get experimental and do a little bit of the wilder stuff, we'll typically do that when we collaborate with other breweries. I love to do collaborations, and then when we collaborate, we can basically throw all the rules out of the window because it's collaboration. If somebody says, well, that's not German, I can say, well, it was that brewery's fault. So, but nobody really cares. But we've done our most popular collaboration was a pecan coffee stout we did with Pecan Street Brewing in Johnson City. Yeah. And that was like a big Hill Country collaboration. We used coffee beans from the Green Coffee Company and pecans from Fredericksburg Pecan Company, and then we brewed that together. So that was a big collaboration. We've done, barrel-aged saisons, Abbey beers, a couple of other. We just did an imperial Kolsch with Joyride Brewing in Denver. They won the silver for their Kolsch at the GABF, so we collaborated to do an imperial Kolsch, which came out really well. So stuff like that, like all the experimental stuff we'll do with collaborations, and then we'll try to fill that out with other German styles that we don't offer to the public distribution.
Cool. That sounds awesome, man. I can't wait for this. I can't wait for the pandemic to be over. Have they put out the rest of the schedule for this thing? I don't.
Yeah, that's the worst part about it is the not knowing.
Yeah.
It's a bummer, but I'm cautiously optimistic you'll be able to get here for the 4th.
I hope so.
But we just have to. I think we'll still be avoiding crowds by then, but you'll be able to go places.
Yeah, no, that'll be great. Yeah, 4th of July, I'm looking forward to it. I hope we're able to celebrate our new freedom on Independence Day. That'll be
wouldn't that be something? Huh?
That's gonna be awesome. All right, well, Craig, I don't want to take up all of your day. I mean, I would, but I'm not gonna do that to you. So we'll wrap the show there. But man, everybody, you've seen them in your grocery store around Alstadt Brewery. Look for that. Well, of course, the lager and the Kolsch, the Hef and the Amber, slide the alt beer, and just fantastic beers available in cans. And then in Fredericksburg, that awesome brewery and an experience just waiting to be had. So just make your plan. You know what? Being in your car is isolation. So if you need to go drive around, a hill country drive would not be a bad idea, just for some therapy for people. And anyway, just saying all that. I fully endorse driving around.
Me too. I agree.
So, and then when this is all over, let's all go visit Alstadt Brewery in Fredericksburg. So, Craig Rowan, thank you so much, sir.
It was my pleasure.
All right. Well, everybody, thank you for listening, and more episodes of InterBrews ahead while we get through this, because beer is good and life is good too. So thank you all for listening. So for Craig, I'm Josh. This is InterBrews.
This is InterBrews.
The preceding has been a presentation of Stewed Productions.